Let the
Good.
record reflect that it is 6 o'clock. We're starting our second hearing for the budget, fiscal year 2013-2014. Chief, would you please lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance? I'm sorry? We do have somebody? Nobody told me. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And the Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Kathleen Devaney from Florida International University, followed by the invocation from Pastor Cheryl Sejour, Gateway Foursquare Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Women standing, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members, staff. We're going to bow and honor the God of heaven and earth. Father God, we know that you have all wisdom, and so we invoke your blessing upon this meeting tonight. We ask that your presence would be here, guiding decisions that are made, guiding articles that will be voted upon. And we just ask that your wisdom would be with each council member, with each one that would be voting tonight. And we thank you that we can put our hope in you. We thank you that you, oh Father God, know the best solutions for everything. And so we ask for your blessing upon the minds of each one. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Call to order. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Thundwell.
Here.
Councilwoman Steril.
Here.
Councilman Bieneme.
Here.
Councilwoman Keys.
Here.
Vice Mayor Galvin. Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Since this is our mileage resolution, would you please read tab A in its entirety?
Yes, Mayor. Resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, adopting a final millage rate of 8.1000 mils for fiscal year 2013 through 2014, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Whereas the City of North Miami, Florida, City, has considered an operating budget for fiscal year 2013 through 2014 in accordance with the provisions of Section 200.065 Florida statutes, and whereas the millage rate necessary to fund the city's operating budget for fiscal year 2013 through 2014 is 8.1000 mils, which is 3.52% more than the rollback rate of 7.8149 mils, and whereas in accordance with Section 200.065 5A Florida Statutes 2012, as amended from time to time, a majority vote of the mayor and city council is required to adopt a rate of up to 8.9847 mils, and whereas the mayor and city council find that the adoption of the proposed final millage rate for fiscal year 2013 through 2014 is in the best interest of the city. Now therefore be it duly resolved by the mayor and city council of the City of North Miami, Florida as follows. Section 1, adoption of final millage rate. The mayor and city council of the City of North Miami, Florida hereby adopt 8.1000 mils as the final millage rate on assessed property value necessary to fund the city's fiscal year 2013 through 2014 operating budget. Section 2, effective date. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon passage. Passed, adopted by a blank vote of the mayor and city council of the City of North Miami. Florida, this blank day of blank 2013.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Let the record reflect that Vice Mayor Galvin present at 6:04. Mr. Manager, presentation, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, we are glad to present this final budget to you for your consideration and approval. The community engagement and collaboration among staff and our mayor and council. The fiscal year 2013-14 budget provides for the implementation of strategic goals set forth. So in order to provide an appropriate and responsible government services to the residents and businesses of North Miami, staff actively listen to the needs of its community. Nobody knows the desire of its community better than you are as elected officials. So today's second budget hearing is the last step of a budget process that has guided staff on reallocating funds. We presented those to you in this summary that's attached, listed as summary of general fund revisions that we made last week. So in summary, $1.6 million was targeted and secured to fund the additional community service and capital projects not previously budgeted. So the highlights that we gave you reflect that, and again, that is based on the millage rate of 8.1.
Thank you. We're going to open public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak on tab A that is in the audience right now? Okay, public hearing is now closed. Amen. Discussion?
Madam Mayor, if you allow me, I have a question for either the city manager or the city attorney. Yes, it's on. Do you guys hear me?
Yes. Now we
Okay,
can.
good. Thank you. I know the last budget hearing when we were passing the millage rate, but the discussion, the understanding is that this is the time if you want to get the rollback or if we want to go forward with the 8.1. So if we want to go with the rollback, what would be the process to do so?
It would be the amendment of this resolution to go to the rollback rate. So the law allows us to go back. We just can't go higher than what we previously indicated.
Okay. I know one of the issues that we have, we wanted to have capital improvement money, much more money. But with the rollback rate, if we keep the rate the way it is right now, we will have a gain of 700 point something. That's what it is. From what I understand, sitting down with you guys, with the presentation that you guys did last night, with the retirement plan, that will provide us with, I think, probably more money than the 7 point something, the 700 point something dollars. Is that what it is?
Yes and no. When we do the retirement incentive plan, our proposal was if we don't hire anybody back, ideally we would have a lot of money. When I mean a lot of money, we would have those salary savings plus benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would subtract the cost of the retirement incentive plan, which would be a fraction of that. So there would be some savings. What we had intended to do was hire only back 50% of the people that leave. And so the first year, the other 50%, and moving forward, that's how we would fund some of the unfunded portions of the early retirement incentive plan. So there is some funds there. We don't know how much because it's not mandatory that everybody takes it. So once we see who retires, maybe only 4 people would take it. So we can't calculate at this time what those numbers are until we actually see who does leave. We do anticipate a pretty good number because after last night we were contacted by the unions who are interested in us presenting it to them as well. But so with that alone, it seems like to be a very good forecast. but I'm uncomfortable in telling you how much that would be at this point in time.
That's fine. Anyways, throughout those weeks within the first hearing, the second hearing, I have been receiving a lot of phone calls from my constituent feeling that they would rather us, or that we would rather me support a rollback rate instead of moving with the 8.1. Having saying that, I will make a motion to, how would I formulate that, Madam City Attorney? Make a motion to, what? To have a,
To amend the
to amend the motion to a
resolution
rollback
for
rate?
the rollback rate.
Okay. That's my motion.
Second for discussion. Madam Mayor, what would be the rollback rate, and if we don't adopt the retirement plan, what happens if we adopt rollback tonight and then we don't have that savings, so to speak?
The rollback rate would be 7.8. What you and what you asked us to do at the first budget hearing was to reduce the budget, which we did without utilizing the early retirement system. So we were able to go in, and we will be making some modifications and some changes. So we found the 780,000 as Councilman Bien-Aimé had requested, opposed to doing the rollback rate. So we found that.
Okay.
So that would be the impact. We have found that money. However, knowing the spirit of the council and the direction that there seems to be a need for additional capital improvement, that's where the early retirement incentive plan came in, is that that would be a funding source in the event that additional funds is needed.
Okay, so I'm the fiscal impact of going from 8.1 tonight to 7.8 tonight is $780,000.
Yes, in that neighborhood, yes.
Where are we finding that $780,000? Where have you found it? It sounds like you've already found it. Where is it? Am I correct in that?
No, you're incorrect in
Okay.
that. If the council asks to go to the rollback rate, we have presented a balanced budget.
Right.
If it's your desire to go back to the rollback rate, then what we would do is go through the budget
Throughout the year.
throughout the year and reduce the budget by several $100,000.
Okay, here's where the old man in me is coming out.
Mhm.
In the past, we had to do that here tonight. Like, we had to sit here, we would go hours laboriously, which are we gonna, it was horrible. I'm not looking to be here for 7 or 8 hours tonight. But under law, don't we have to have the budget tonight? I mean, how am I mistaken as to we used to have to walk out the door with everything dotted and crossed and everything that night, and now it sort of sounds like we can walk out of here with it very in flux and you can come back to it later.
I think I was there at those times that you were, because that we, back then, we choose to micromanage the budget. Then we wanted to do it from pennies to a million ourselves,
Right.
which I don't think the law required us to do it if we don't want to.
Right.
But as we pay the city manager and the budget director to balance the budget, they provide to us tonight a balanced budget. But however, the $700,000 or $700,000 that they have to find, it's, for example, they will find it because it's in there. Either they make more cuts or they bring back to us, okay, the $700,000, we wanted to take it from the Biscayne Lending. Hope that's not what happened. But however, they will find it somewhere in the budget. That's their job, to find it, to bring it back to us.
I get that part. I guess.
Oh, we
maybe
can
it's
spend the night, look for it. I don't mind.
Right. Well, maybe it's just a legal question. Do we
Okay.
have to approve the budget that we approved tonight? Is it allowed to be?
Revised.
I know it can be
Amended.
revised with budget amendments through the year.
That's correct.
But it's wholly inordinary to me to walk out with that big of a question mark. I just would feel more comfortable voting on a budget that was substantively complete.
Sure.
And if you maybe have an idea where the 780 would come from, I'd like to hear that.
Sure.
If you're eliminating all parks programs to make up for it, I'm not in
Definitely
favor
not.
of that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
neither.
So,
I'm not neither.
And
Right.
city manager, and you need to explain that this budget that you present to us is based on 8.1 Mildred, right?
That's correct.
In order for you to have a balanced budget. If you have to go on the rollback 7.8, you won't have a balanced budget.
That's correct, unless cuts are made.
Exactly.
So
without that, you won't be able to balance that budget.
That's correct.
Okay, didn't we, the last budget hearing, I remember it was a suggestion from Councilman Bien-Aimé for us to go into the rollback. That's where you went and searched and found those additional $700,000?
What Councilman Bien-Aimé had earlier proposed was that he wanted to do the rollback rate, which was 780,000. And if we did not find 780 for capital improvements, he would then leave it at the 8.1.
Let me explain. The question was, I want the 7.8, and you have to find a way to balance the budget with 7.8. I said, I don't mind increasing tax if you're going to use the 8.1, the money coming up out of the 8.1 to do capital improvement.
Correct.
That was the plan.
That's correct.
I'm in favor of the 7.8, right? You have to you're gonna have to do some cut in order to balance the budget at 7.8. But I said I don't mind if you're raising it by 8.1 if the money gonna be put aside for capital improvement.
Correct.
That was the point.
And so therefore we presented to you tonight the 8.1 because we found the funds for the capital improvement, and we found that because we added back furlough days. So we did not have, so we added 6 furlough days, and
which is about 300,000.
Yes, it's roughly about 300,000+. And I'm going through the various departments, and we're making concessions in the various departments. So those concessions and consolidations came up, and that's how we were able to find, at your request, what we did, and we found those funds. Now, therefore we have a balanced budget. That's how we were able
So
to balance
the Vice
it.
Mayor's question, if we happen to pass the rollback rate, which is 7.8, where would you find, or how would you find the $7-point-something thousand in the budget?
We would go throughout the year. We did reevaluate. There is some leverage when we reevaluated the discounted rate compared to what, in other words, there's a rate that if everybody pays early and if they pay late, so there's some leeway there so we can project additional funds there, and throughout the year we can go through the budget during the course of the year and make additional cuts.
Okay.
And those additional cuts we would find the money. Now, some cuts would not have to be made because now that the retirement incentive plan would be in place, we anticipate a positive effect on that as well. I just can't commit to that, but I think that it's favorable to say that if you did do the rollback rate through the retirement incentive plan, we would get the cushion and we would be able to come back and do the various budget amendments. Plus, on top of that, I will be evaluating departments. There will be some consolidations and modifications, and we'll continue that throughout the year without impacting city services. We will not impact libraries, service hours, parks and recreation, people at a first and second tier level that are actually out there doing the work that has the interaction. That's not where the impacts or the modifications will come. It will come, we will be looking at mid-managers, upper managers. We will be looking at what we have and making some changes. So that's how we would do it, if that's what your desire
Let me
is.
ask you a question. Just give me a minute. If we have to do the rollback at 7.8, we won't be able to vote to now on the budget. You're going to have to go back and balance the budget and come back for a second hearing.
He's right on the money. We don't have a balanced budget tonight unless we sit here and come up with
And with
$780,000.
Right.
If we have to do the rollback and go at 7.8, we won't have a balanced budget. You're going to have to go back, and we're going to have to do a second hearing in order for us to present to us a balanced budget.
Right. You know the word what he's saying is that this budget is balanced
Based on
the
8.1.
8.1.
The only
added
difference, I want that money, that 780, to do capital improvement instead of using it just to balance the budget.
The budget manager is just sharing with me that we could go back through the book. We have a balanced budget. We can go back through the book, and if it was your desire.
What you mean go back? That's when we won't be able to vote tonight.
Right.
Well, unless we
We
decide
have
to
to
go
vote
back
tonight.
tonight and
We
balance
have
it and
to
leave here at
vote
1
tonight.
o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
Why we have to vote tonight? It's not on the 38th? Today is the 25th, no?
Basically, what we would do right now, if you want us to go back to the rollback rate, we could take a brief recess, go through some stuff, and we could actually come up with the 772,000.
But
What is available now, we do have the $780,000 that we budgeted for capital projects. We're right there. If you say that you don't want to cut that out, you want to leave the capital projects, we'll go through and make the changes necessary. But we do need to balance the budget book tonight. If we take a recess,
Why is that?
we can look and
Just
do
that-
this.
why is
By law, with TRIM, the Department of Revenue, if we don't have a balanced budget tonight and because then we'll have to go back out and re-advertise to all the constituents of North Miami, which will take additional time.
Okay.
We don't have the time to do that.
Okay, but that's not, it's
So-
not illegal under the, if you
Yes,
don't vote
exactly. It's
tonight.
not legal
Okay,
underneath that.
okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But
Can I ask,
we need to
um,
balance tonight.
I'd like to ask a question about these furlough days. So we're going back to furlough days for every employee 6 days?
We already had 6 furlough days in the current budget year. We had originally took the 6 furlough days out. We removed them to commence October 1st, going into this 13, 14, that there would be no more furlough days. But when we know that we needed to do capital improvement projects, we put the 6 furlough days back into the budget. So that brought in about $350,000 roughly.
So we're still going to have several days during the year where we have 4-day weekends where the city is closed for 4 days?
That's
Because that is
correct.
not a good thing for the citizens. People are trying to do business with the city, and I've had more complaints where closing a city for 4 days is just ridiculous on a 3-day holiday, and then people can't come in on Friday. People's work is stopped. And I'd like to see the furlough days, less furlough days, or them altered. My preference is not to have so many mandatory furlough days for the employees if they don't want them. And secondly, I'd like to see them scattered, because closing the city for 4 days in a row is just, it's not acceptable.
What
And
do you mean
and
4
it's done
days in
to
the
a-
What do you mean
4
4
days
days in a
throughout
row?
the
No,
year?
no, no. What she's saying is
No,
that
when
we
we
know
have a
when there
3-day
is a
holiday.
when there's
Oh.
a 3 days holiday,
They give
like
a furlough
Friday,
day on
Monday,
Friday.
I
and she
understand,
doesn't
okay.
want you. But some employees actually like it this way because they can actually spend
What
more
about
time
the
with their
citizens,
families.
too?
But remember, the citizens only come to pay the utility bill, which they do have
That is
the
not
out
true.
pocket. What else do you do in City Hall?
People
as
work with the
citizens?
building department, the planning department. You've got contractors working. Their jobs are shut down because they can't get inspections. They can't
They
come
have
and
a
speed-
problem with that? They're
Oh, yes,
complaining?
yes.
Really? To you?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear the same
all
complaint.
the time.
Yeah, but at the same
Okay.
time,
Look,
as a
the city is a
government,
business, and people
So
are.
can we-
I
can we
understand
work
that,
on
but
the-
I'm just saying that
Can you
that.
call the roll for
Also,
the
I have another question
millage
before
rate?
we adjourn.
Okay.
Mr. Sori, we've got this retirement plan looming over us. How have you determined what the cost is going to be to the city if you've made this pension plans too good to be true and we lose half of the people? Monday we had 23 employees, now we're looking at 40 employees. Since we went back to 60 instead of 65, how many employees are we talking about?
It's in the neighborhood of 80, but again, we
80?
can't, no, I'm sorry, 40.
40, okay.
But we can't make that determination because it's not mandatory that people take it.
But we still have to have an idea if even half of those people, we've got to assume half of these people accept this pension plan. Do we have a number that is going to cost the city in buyouts, insurance, sick leave? Do we have that figure somewhere? And is that worked into this budget? In
It's-
this page, this miscellaneous expense
Hold on.
computation?
No.
Madam Mayor,
It's-
Mr. City, but can we, I think you're going through the detailed budget, which I'm interested in it too. Can we just do the
We're not
first
there yet.
item, which is the millage rate, and then we'll go back to the second item, which is the...
Okay, but
Budget.
I just didn't want them to adjourn without.
No,
We're not
it's
going to
adjourning.
adjourn. We're
No,
going to
no,
take
no,
a
the
no.
millage
recess.
rate now.
Okay.
We're going to take a recess so
Well, that's why I
that
didn't
they
want
can
them- I wanted
go
to
ahead
bring
and,
that up
and, and,
before we
and
recess.
rebalance the
If-
budget.
If, yeah.
This is if we, can you repeat your motion, Councilwoman?
Madam City Attorney, can you read it for me, please, since you so eloquently read?
Sure, but let me just clarify in terms of having to pass the budget. Your charter requires you to pass the budget no later than the 27th day of the last month of the current fiscal year. And should you not pass the budget tonight, then the budget as presented will be adopted, subject to your amendments throughout the year.
Yeah.
So you either.
That means if we don't vote on it, the
That's your
proposed budget
That's
will be a
correct.
budget.
That's correct.
There's a motion on the
Can you
floor.
read my
Yes.
motion,
So
please?
the motion, Mr. Clerk, what was the motion?
Councilwoman Sterry made a
Sorry.
motion to adopt a rollback rate, apparently of 7.8. Now, it was seconded by Galvin for discussion, so I would, I don't know, do I need if it's second for discussion, it's second, right? So it was seconded, it was seconded by Galvin, and that was the motion that Councilwoman Sterry made, and it was seconded by Galvin for discussion.
Okay, so
Before we vote, one last question. Here's my concern, Councilwoman Sterile. What if we vote this to 7.8 right now and then absolutely hate what staff comes back to us with in half an hour?
We'll sit down and,
Well-
as we usually do, we send them back or we help them out.
Okay.
I have time.
City Clerk, roll call, please.
Yeah, but there won't be no coming back.
That's mean
Okay.
either or, if we have to do the rollback at 7.8 or we keep it at 8.1, we're still going to have cuts,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Correct.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Galvin,
Yes.
Mayor Thundro,
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme,
No.
Councilwoman Keys,
Yes.
Councilwoman Steril.
Yes.
Measure passes 4-1.
Thank you. Before we go on tab B,
Recess?
we're going to go into recess. Budget manager and city attorney are going to come back with new numbers, new figures for us,
You guys need.
so that we can continue.
How long do you guys need?
Yeah, can we say half an
long?
hour or 45?
Half an hour is fine.
hour?
Probably
Half an hour?
'Cause a lot-
Let me give you 45 minutes.
45.
Okay, we will return in 45 minutes.
It's up to you, Mayor, but we were okay, we're okay with 30. It's up to, yeah, we're okay with 30 if you desire.
give you 45 minutes.
Okay,
So that we're not
okay.
late. Don't understand. 45 minutes we give us Manger toi, puis je moi m'a manger. Yeah, said manger. Second budget hearing, and we had a recess for 45 minutes, 47 minutes actually, and we are. I hope the city manager and the budget manager have found the numbers that we were looking for, and I think you have.
Mayor and council, we have, and being that you've adopted the millage rate, just for record purposes, we're going to ask that the clerk officially reread that into the minutes, and then we'll into the record, and then we'll come back, if it's okay, Madam Mayor, to reflect where those numbers
Certainly.
came from.
Yes.
The resolution that was adopted by the City Council is the following. A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida, adopting a final millage rate of 7.8149 mils for fiscal year 2013 through 2014, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes. Whereas the City of North Miami, Florida has considered an operating budget for fiscal year 2013 through 2014 in accordance with the provisions of Section 200.065 Florida statutes. Whereas the millage rate necessary to fund the city's operating budget for fiscal year 2013 through 2014 is 7.8149 mils, and whereas in accordance with Section 200.065 5A Florida statutes 2012, as amended from time to time, a majority vote of the mayor and city council is required to adopt a rate of up to 8.9847 mils. And whereas the mayor and city council find that the adoption of the proposed millage rate for fiscal year 2013 through 2014 is in the best interest of the city. Now, therefore, be it duly resolved by the mayor and city council of the City of North Miami, Florida, as follows. Section 1. Adoption of final millage rate. The mayor and city council of the City of North Miami, Florida hereby adopt 7.8149 mils as the final millage rate on assessed property value necessary to fund the city's fiscal year 2013 through 2014 operating budget. Section 2. Effective date. This resolution shall become effective immediately upon adoption. Passed and adopted by a 4-1 vote of the mayor and city council of the City of North Miami, Florida, this 25th day of September 2013, and the current time is 7:23 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Can we hear the presentation for the new numbers?
Madam Mayor and council, I'd like to direct you to page number 495 in the budget book.
What was the page?
Page 495. The department would be Public Works and Fleet Management. The division is the motor pool.
You say 495.
Page 495 of the proposed budget book. And the department that's under is Public Works, Fleet Management, the motor pool. Item number 998 is reserve set aside for future replacement of vehicles in the city's fleet. We request to utilize that $250,000. And previously, there was Biscayne funds used in the neighborhood of 3 million was used. There's a $500,000 left over, and we have found to use that 500, and that would be enough to cover.
Would you repeat that, what you just said about the 500,000?
Yes. If you recall, there was 3.5 previously allocated money.
Of Biscayne Landing funds?
Yes, that was the reserve for employee. 1.5 has been used. 1.5, an additional 1.5 has been used for the The resolution passed last night. That leaves 500,000 left over.
Beautification for District 3.
Yes,
Okay.
and 500,000 is left over. We're requesting to use that 5 plus the 250 from the reserve, and that would suffice to cover the lowerage of the millage rate.
Yes, Pete?
And meaning instead of using 1.5 from the reserve, now we're gonna use 2 million to balance the budget. From
That's-
that, yeah,
Yes, you can say it that way. Yes, sir.
okay.
And then plus the 250. We're adding that 500 back into it plus this 250 to find that millage rate.
To balance the budget
That's correct.
for the whole back.
Correct.
In order to save the taxpayer about 67 cents a month.
Is that what the average is?
It's about $8 per taxpayer per year.
Tax on the taxpayers, we use that money.
Yes.
Yeah, to balance our budget. We're using
Yeah.
$2 million from the money that was allocated to the employees
Yes.
to balance that budget.
Yes.
And we're saving the taxpayer 67 cents a month.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to say something, please. When we started out about a month ago, we had $3.5 million allocated out of Biscayne Landing funds for employee salaries, not necessary benefits. We've used $1.5 million, leaving us $2 million. We've since taken $1.5 million from that, and now you're taking another $500,000, which means we're using $2 million of our Biscayne Landing funds to balance the budget this year. And that leaves us, of our $17.5 million, that leaves us, so the world knows, we're left with $2 million in our Biscayne Landing funds. That's all we've got. And next year, when we have a shortfall, where are we getting the $2 million? I just do not like using all of our Biscayne Landing money that we set aside. I would like to see us, if we're going to roll back the rate, then we need to roll back some of those improvements. If we really have improvements, we can always take them from the Biscayne allocation like we did last night. And I'd rather roll back the 5, since we do not have a list of what the 780,000 or the 720,000 improvements are, I think we should take 500,000 from that amount.
From
If it's
which-
such, from this, we added $750,000 or 720,000 for improvements. No, we added 780,000 to our budget. I don't see how we can roll back the rates and add $780,000
just
to our
did.
budget.
He just did.
Can I
He make cuts.
Yeah,
He is
but we
he's using $500,000 from.
Let me speak, because I got interrupted, and let me just speak, and then you all can say what you want. We just robbed our reserves. We balanced it because we took Biscayne Landing money, which is a one-time fund. We're not going to get that again. I think if we want and have a need for capital improvements, the money will be there, still sitting there in the allocation, and we can go take it when we need it. But I think we should not. We don't need to put 780,000 in our capital budget, because we don't even have we don't even have a line item for it. It's just, oh, we're going to have 780,000 in our budget. Leave it in the Biscayne Landing funds. You want to use it, take it later. But we don't need to take it right now and rob our Biscayne Landing funds.
And city manager, by doing the rollback, we don't have $780,000 for capital improvement.
Yes,
Because
you do.
you're still gonna have it?
Yep.
Because
Because they took 500,000 from our Biscayne, the remainder of our Biscayne Landing funds, instead of lowering the improvements. We've got improvements that we haven't even identified. But
which
we-
improvement you talking about?
I don't know. It says 780,000 for capital improvements.
We
don't
say
know.
capital improvement.
Wait,
It's,
wait, wait,
it's-
wait, excuse me. I think if you want to speak, each of you, you have to take turns, speak
Okay.
your mind. It's not right for you folks to have a dialogue going on.
Okay.
And we're trying to clarify something for us to understand what's going on. And I believe the budget manager and the city manager are there to clarify whichever questions that we may have.
You finish?
I
Are
don't
you
have any
done,
que-
Councilwoman?
Yes, I don't have any questions.
Thank you. Councilman
Yeah.
Yeneme, you have the floor.
And before we do the rollback, you said you have the $780,000 for capital improvement. If we have to do the rollback at 7.8, you're gonna have to cut to find that $780,000 since our budget was balanced based on that.
And
If we do the rollback, you come up with that 750,000.
That's
Do we
correct.
still have the capital improvement in the budget?
yes,
Oh, okay, I understand.
That's correct.
What you want, you and
Mr. Bien-Aimé,
sorry.
Councilwoman Steril has the floor.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Bien-Aimé, for allowing me to speak. There is no line item in the budget as biscuit lending money. The $500,000 that we're referring to is not part of the reserve. So we need to carefully choose our words, specifically when we're doing budget. Whatever that we say, that's what will be repeated, and that wouldn't be fair because we up here are professionals or supposedly understand the budget and the language. The money that I'm hoping that I'm right. If not, please allow me or clarify it for me. The money was always in the budget, was allocated for staff, and it was supposed to be in the budget. It was part of the budget.
That's correct.
However, it's not from the reserve or from anywhere else. Since we decided a long time ago we were not going to use that money to give it back to staff, so that line item was just there. So since we decided not to increase tax, it doesn't matter if it's a penny or 50 cents or a quarter or a dollar, but we decided not to increase the tax, so the city manager used the money that was already part of the budget to move forward to balance the budget. Make sense? Am I clear? I think I can get a job as manager tonight. I mean, at least budget manager. Thank you, madam.
Are you sending
I'm
big
done.
signals?
I got the job.
Let's
They give it
move
to
on.
me.
So,
That was just a joke, by the way.
Vice
At
Mayor
commission,
Calvin,
I didn't mean it.
do you have any comments?
Just quickly,
Or
I want to
questions?
make sure that I comprehend. You've already, before tonight, used 1.5 million that we had talked about spending for staff salaries and moved it over toward general fund to balance the budget.
that's correct.
Did we need to have taken any type of vote? You know, when we memorialized those salary amounts and all the other things, it was via resolution. Since this now is a change to that resolution, do we need a new resolution to rememorialize? Like, are we making sure we've covered every base and moving that money over, that procedurally we're not violating anything we voted on in the past?
That's correct, Councilman, through the mayor, vice mayor. When you, through resolution, it was memorialized, all of the allocations with the prior administration, mayor and council administration, that 3.5 would be allocated for employees' benefits over a future use. We had intended to use that over a series of years. Then what happened was, and that was memorialized, you came back and through resolution, you reallocated 1.5 of that last night.
Right. So my question is, the additional 1.5 that you've already moved over,
Yes.
wouldn't we need a resolution to do that, just like we needed a resolution to move the 1.5 to sidewalks?
Well, you had already, through that resolution, you had already, in my opinion, had gave me authority to use those funds for covering
Budget.
staff costs.
Right.
So that's,
Wasn't it the money that was reserved for employee furlough day that we were supposed to reimburse them, and you made a comment saying that they're lucky to have a job? We're going to use that
and I'm
money
not-
for capital
I'm-
improvements?
I'm not disagreeing with
no.
the move. I'm
Okay.
just making sure that
The
procedurally,
procedure is okay.
we've done what we're supposed to do. Because again, I'd rather provide programs than salaries. So I'm cool with this, but I just want to make sure that
Well, maybe city attorney can,
They're talking among
I'm sorry.
themselves, trying to solve it.
city attorney, what is your take on that?
I'm just trying to understand where the second 1.5,
It's
when was that?
several months ago, I don't remember. It was probably even before the election. We took a vote on a resolution memorializing.
No, that I
5 or
recall
6
that,
Right.
yeah.
And of that, in that line item was 3.5 million for staff
Got it.
salaries. Well, just last night, we passed a new resolution
Right.
taking 1.5 of that out, putting
Right.
it towards sidewalks.
Right,
Good.
so that leaves,
So that leaves 2
Two.
million.
Okay.
As I understand it, they've already, in computing
You mean
tonight's
tonight?
budget, even
but we're gonna
before-
pass that, we're gonna pass this tonight, though.
Right. So, but if you follow what I'm saying, we're
Do we need a separate resolution
Do we-
to take the 500,000?
No, you're doing it via ordinance tonight. You're adopting your budget, and that change is in your ordinance tonight. So
Okay.
that change
Which makes
is
sense.
happening through through legislation, just like
Okay.
the prior change.
Reallocation.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't stumble somehow. All right. That was my only question. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, now I have a question. How am I going to read the ordinance that's on here? So now, am I going to say attached here too as amended Exhibit 1 on the body of what's on the iPad? Because the exhibit that's attached was the budget from before. Now the budget has been amended. Am I going to just say amended?
As amended.
As
As
amended?
amended.
Okay.
Hold on one second, Mr. Edgehill, before you read. Let me just make sure I have all my stuff correct.
He's just officially making the change.
Right. And is it going to still be as calculated by
No.
5 point? Yeah, that's percent. Okay, that's what I figured.
Wait, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
When you make the changes, I'll just read it from your laptop. Because I don't have the amended here.
Oh, I did have one other thought. I just want to get on the record what you told me earlier, that we were going to be able to find funds for the VITA course
Yes,
at
sir.
North Bay Shore Park if it's agreed to by the community, if they want it. Thank you.
To do what?
An exercise course that people in the district, in my district, had asked for. It would cost $10,000. It's some equipment, pull-ups here, then you run over here, do sit-ups here. There's been this ongoing debate for years whether or not they would have this VITA
Find a
course.
$10,000 for the councilman,
Right.
please.
More than $10,000, because at the Lehman Park as well, someone in the audience just mentioned the same thing. They need some outdoor equipments, and I have asked it for District 4 when I was in the Parks and Recreation Board, because people are walking and there's no outdoor equipments. Those are things that I think that are needed in all 4 districts wherever they are parked, and people that are working out. It's a good thing. I support that.
For your budget.
Now, shall we,
Do you have a copy of it?
Madam Attorney, after we're done with all the questions, shall we reopen public hearings?
Yes. This is a new item.
New item, okay.
This was online.
You guys delete the clerk agenda item? Is that what it is? That's what they did to you, Mr.
No,
Clerk?
what I have is what we had originally, so now I have to read it in its entirety, and there's some changes they gotta make now because now it's not 5% anymore, the amount is changed because,
Oh.
so the budget is different, so he's gonna fix it and I'm gonna read it.
Can you go and recess again?
He's gotta change the calculations, the numbers, the percentage.
It's okay, I'll wait. Should I sing now? No, that's not the
The
time?
mayor allows you to.
Keep your day job, okay? So the mileage rate now is, if adopted, is going to be
You might need to run some
7.815.
quick math here. You're talking millions.
Jackie, you just raised a sign. What did it say? Speak into microphone. Thank you.
Speak into microphone.
That's
Oh,
what her
are you
sign
talking
said.
to Councilwoman Steril who wanted to sing?
Oh, okay, no
Oh
problem.
my
You
God,
guys
you
ready?
don't want that. Please, Jackie, come on. Please. Oh, Lord. Very good. So, Mr. Clerk, you're going to reread the entire thing, and then we open public forum for those in the audience who would like to speak, and then we,
Yeah, you can do public forum.
very good. Okay. I just met some wonderful.
He said you can do it now.
We
Public
can open
forum
public
now.
forum now?
Do we have to read it before we open
Yes.
public forum?
Yeah, but if they're going to speak,
it's
they
like-
must know what they're speaking about.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Can you have a recess? 15 minutes? Do they need
Maybe
that?
we should take a 5-10 minutes recess. We're gonna take a recess for 10 minutes
To do the
because we don't want Councilwoman Steril to sing.
Definitely not.
They gotta recompute rates and percentages and all this stuff, so that when they read it for the record, it's accurate based on this new 7.8 mils that we.
Mr. Clerk, is everything clear on your?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, would you please reread for us item A?
Tab B.
The B.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, adopting and approving the budget of the city of North Miami for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2013, and ending September 30th, 2014, authorizing the amount to be raised by taxation for the operation of the city for the 2013-2014 fiscal year, authorizing the expenditure of funds established by the budget, authorizing a return on investment transfer from the Water and Sewer Utility Fund to the General Fund, authorizing the city manager to implement budget amendments, revenue and or expenditure to appropriate or unappropriate funds as required during the fiscal year and to amend the prior fiscal year budget to facilitate the year-end closing process, providing for repeal, severability, and an effective date. Whereas, the budget of the city of North Miami, Florida City, for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2013, and ending September 30th, 2014, as amended, was considered at public hearings held on September 11, 2013, and September 25th, 2013, as required by Chapter 200 Florida statutes. And whereas the mayor and city council wish to approve and adopt the budget of the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2013, and ending September 30th, 2014, and to authorize that this amount be raised by taxation for the operation of the city for the 2013-2014 fiscal year. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, that Section 1, budget approved and adopted, the budget of the city of North Miami for fiscal year 2013 to 2014 fiscal year as amended is hereby approved and adopted. Section 2, implement budget amendments. The city manager of the city of North Miami is hereby authorized to implement budget amendments, revenue, and or expenditures by resolution to appropriate or unappropriate funds as required during the fiscal year and to amend the prior fiscal year budget by resolution to facilitate the year-end closing process. Section 3, expenditures of funds appropriated in the authorized budget. Funds appropriated to the various departments in the budget may be expanded by the directors of each department by and with the approval of city manager in accordance with the provisions of the city charter and applicable ordinances. Expenditures of funds including but not limited to enterprise funds, internal service funds, and expendable trust funds under circumstances in which additional revenues are generated by user fees or charges to offset the cost of supplying a service to residents or other city departments shall not be limited by estimated appropriations but rather by actual revenue, and to that extent the actual revenue received shall be deemed to be appropriated. Section 4, return on investment of water and sewer fund assets. The budget includes a transfer from the water and sewer operation and maintenance fund to the general fund, representing the return on investment that taxpayers would receive if the utility were sold. The transfer for the 2013-2014 fiscal year is calculated at 5.0% of fixed assets. As of September 30th, 2012, this transfer may be made annually, but not to exceed 7.5% of the utility's net fixed assets. Section 5, checks. All checks on city bank accounts shall be signed by any member of the city council and the finance director. Section 6, amount of taxes. The approximate amount of $16,294,270 shall be the amount of gross taxes to be raised by the operating ad valorem tax levy authorized by resolution of the city council. Section 7, all authority of manager, the city manager is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents and instruments and to do and cause to be done any and all acts and things necessary or proper for carrying out the transactions contemplated by this ordinance. Section 8, repeal. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict or inconsistent are repealed. Section 9, severability. If any word, clause, phrase, sentence, paragraph, or section of this ordinance is held to be invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, such declaration of invalidity shall not affect any word, clause, phrase, sentence, paragraph, or section of this ordinance. Section 10, effective date. This ordinance shall become effective immediately upon second reading. Passed and adopted by a 4-1 vote of the Mayor Council of the City of North Miami on first reading this 11th day of September 2013. Passed and adopted by a blank vote of the Mayor and City Council of the City of North Miami, Florida on second reading on this blank day of 2013, which changes our general fund budget to $58,506,539. Total city budget $139,208,037.
Public hearing is now open. Public hearing is closed. Wait. Is there a motion to approve tab B? You have to speak to the mic. Jackie cannot hear you back there.
I move the motion to approve tab B.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Very good. We're open for discussion. Councilwoman Keys?
We discussed already.
I don't know.
We discuss and we fight.
Are we discussing or are we voting?
We need to discuss and fight
Okay.
again.
I'm not fighting. I'm just not willing to deplete our Biscayne landing reserves for an unallocated $780,000 line item.
Very good. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Mayor Thundro,
Yes.
Councilman Bieneme,
Yes.
Councilwoman Keys,
No.
Councilwoman Steriel,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Galvin.
Yes.
Item passes 4-1.
Move to adjourn?
4-1 at
Oh.
7:57 p.m.
All right. Any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Congratulations.